How you doing? Welcome to another edition of Catharsis here on the Full Circle Radio Network. I'm your producer and host, Joseph J. Alexander. How you doing? So, this isn't going to be a long episode. At least I hope not. I mean, I know I tend to ramble at times, so, very well could. I don't know. But I don't think we really need, to do a lot. Get rid of that. So there's three things that I'm going to address in this episode. They trying to intertwine them all in a way that will work. Some things have been brought to my attention. Well, they've been brought to a lot of people's attention, but some people actually asked me if I was going to speak about one of them. So I was like, well, I'll think about it. Hold on, let me just fix my headset here. I always get stuck in my hair up here. It's a bitch. So, trying to figure out which way to start on this because I'll start off with this. So, some of you who have tuned in the past few episodes for the what has become known in local parts as the Bristol GOP trilogy, there is another edition. Because you see, certain things couldn't be left alone on a lot of bases. Lots of lies are still being told. Lots of fuckery is still abounding. And when that happens, well, you know that means one thing and one thing only.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
Time for more trash to be taken out. So, let me start with something that I said that I was going to read here on the broadcast today because of things happening. For those of you who may not want to go back and watch all of these things that have been said, or the past three the past three episodes, Reader's Digest version. Our city has an incompetent mayor who is being found out for his incompetency over the past 2.5 years, 3 years. There's a lot of shortcomings, and he's trying to blame it on the Board of Education. I've gone into many details as to why it is not the Board of Education's fault, and that the Board of Education has actually been underfunded the past few years. They were requesting an increase in their budget. He was trying to shut it down. Him and his cohorts, mainly his brother and a couple of his friends, decided to open up a Facebook page with really bad AI videos portraying people in the Bristol Board of Education. When I called it out on here, they decided to make shitty AI videos of me and also decided to clip one of my former episodes to try to make me look like a ranting maniac and tried to take jabs at everything possible. They literally decided to criticize that one of the photos behind me, one of the hanging art is crooked, and that my lampshade was crooked at the time. And there was like some laundry over in that area that I was gathering up that was going to a donations box. Because I was in the midst of spring cleaning. It was very petty and very childish. As far as stuff being, slanted or whatever, I have a very wild, not very wild, but a very energetic dog. who, when the mailman comes, likes to jump from the couch to the chair and stuff, and some things shake. So I've just kind of learned to live with it at this point. But yeah. So I'm going to start off by reading a public letter that has been addressed that some people have been sharing, because sharing is caring. And I'm just going to read this verbatim as it is written. It's been shared by people either on the Board of Education or adjacent to. And it was shared by a friend of mine this morning, and I let him know that I would be reading it on this edition. Not my way. So, for all intents and purposes, this is a form letter. If you live in Bristol, Connecticut, I promise this is a worthy read. For context, Jen was the chairman, Jen Tegarillo. Jen was the chairperson of the Bristol Board of Ed as a Republican. I think the current administration had her so frustrated that not only did she leave the party, she joined the Democratic Town Committee along with her husband, who was also a Republican chair of the BOE, who switched as well. Best thing about our current mayor is that he's been so dishonest that the Dems and the Republicans are barely a thing anymore in Bristol. It's team, we know the difference between right and wrong. What is being blasted about Bristol schools is so BS that our superintendent had to address the mayor's lies, which again, everyone paying attention knows are lies. Facts matter. The transition to the, and I believe this is the actual thing. Oh, no, sorry. Facts matter. The transition to the Edgewood Pre-K Academy was a unanimously supported plan that fell under the Republican-led Reimagining Bristol Redistricting Initiative that was good for the district and great for the students. Why the mayor would spout such disinformation should concern every parent, guardian, and employee of the Bristol Public Schools. Urgent clarification on Edgewood Pre-K Academy. Now, if you realize in the last edition, I talked about how they had to transfer the pre-K students because the roof collapsed at this place. Part of the increase in the budget they were asking for included repairs to that roof. However, the funds to repair that roof were already earmarked by the state and would be reimbursed. So technically, they're not even part there. The city has to pony up at the beginning, but every dime of it's getting reimbursed. So it really shouldn't be considered part of the increase. So, dear BPS community, urgent clarification is needed on some statements made by Mayor Fuckbuckle, I will not use his name, last night regarding the Edgewood Pre-K Academy. These remarks have sparked confusion and concern in our community, and we must address them directly and clarify the facts for everyone involved. The safety of our students is our top priority, and we are committed to transparency in all communications related to their education and well-being. Mold in the Edgewood building. The mayor said mold was in the building. Back in February, a targeted mold and moisture assessment was conducted at the south wing of Edgewood. This assessment was conducted at the request of BPS to evaluate the presence of mold in the south wing. On February 18th, BPS received the assessment report, which is attached, or was attached to this letter. The assessment showed no elevated levels of mold. Asbestos. We want to inform you that the pre-K building, like many older buildings, contains asbestos materials. Please know this is not uncommon. There is no danger to the students or staff. The state of Connecticut enforces strict regulations for managing asbestos in schools, and BPS follows them to the letter. We would never knowingly allow children to be in an unsafe environment. National Association for the Education of Young Children, also known as NAEVC, accreditation. Edgewood Pre-K Academy is proud to be a NAEVC Plus accredited program. NAEVC sets standards for best practices in early childhood education. Our program has demonstrated that we meet or exceed the standards set forth by NAEVC due to our comprehensive curriculum, robust classroom environment, and strong family, student, and staff partnerships. We look forward to our reaccreditation in the year 2026. Least restrictive environment. The state mandates that students learn in their least restrictive environment. Having all students in one location has tremendously benefited staff, students, and families. We were able to consolidate related services, students with nursing needs or particular equipment needs, and implement a truly integrated program that improved time with non-disabled peers, which is the least restrictive environment. Edgewood Building Committee. We already have a talented group of individuals who have been working collaboratively for the past month as the Edgewood Building Committee. The mayor is welcome to join the next meeting on April 28th. Transparent communication is the cornerstone of our relationship with you and our community. While we may have differing views on some issues, the information we share with you must always be accurate and well informed to maintain the trust and cooperation between our school district, local government, and the broader community. Let us continue to work together and ensure the best outcome for our students and community. In partnership, Iris White, Acting Superintendent of Schools. That's professionalism. That's how you handle things in a adult manner. Because there's a lot of lies that have been spread around about everything concerning the Board of Ed, concerning the pre-K Academy. And things just, need to be set straight. The mayor is getting called out everywhere left and right because of tax increases that are happening. Him claiming that the city is so much better off under him when it's not. Him delaying on having the grand list come out. This is all stuff I've covered in the last few episodes, so I'm not going to keep, focusing on it. Now, in the last episode, I showed you how they were criticizing me. Criticism is a very broad term. They were attacking me. Now, that video was reported to Facebook, to Meta in general. It was reported by me and other people. I was offered the ability to file an appeal. I filed such an appeal, and the video was taken down. Now, we already know that they're not mature, because any mature person would say, all right, lost this one, on to the next. But no. Fuckbuckle and his brother Fuckbuckle, the other J Fuckbuckle, and most likely Alex Karras and should I use John Stevens and Judy Bristol? Go back. Decided that rather than leave well enough alone, let's make another shitty AI video. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you because fuck that shit. But I'm going to play what I need to address. So.
And City Council want to deny our children the education of climate change and racial diversity, stand up for our children, and allow Tampon Day.
That was their whole thing, is apparently teaching DEI is bad, climate change is a myth, yada, yada, and they kept trying to push the tampons in boys' bathrooms nonsense. Tonight on Circle Jerk Radio, we discuss Mayor Fuckbuckle and his merry band of cost-cutting Republican Trump-tards. But before we do that, I have to remind you that tonight, at the Church of Eternal Black Magic, we will be sacrificing a goat to the sun god Ra in order to body slam these people back to which they came. I also remind everyone making fun of me, making fun of them, being totally hypocritical, will be silenced. I'm the only one allowed to call out anyone. So eloquent. I could have left well enough alone. Now, obviously, still you're doing the whole bullshit of taking a sample of my voice to run through an AI generator. You're using an AI generation of a place that looks nothing like my house. And once again, You can see my living conditions on every broadcast that I do. And does my house look like that? No. But this is where you fucked up. Now I'm going to preface this like before, bro. Once again, by letting people know, number one, I'm not a Democrat nor a Republican. I'm an independent, always have been, always will be. Much like the letter that I read, it's not a matter of D or R, it's a matter of right and wrong. What you chose to do. Now, remember when the body slam comment, oh boy, because you realize that, I work in the wrestling business. So that's top notch. That's top notch comedy writing right there. What you chose to do is take some of my personal information. I mean, not, personal information, but public information. And use it in a way that I need to talk about. The other preface is, I don't care what religion you are. If you are religious, if you're not religious, if you're an atheist, if you're agnostic, if you're Christian, if you're Jewish, you're Muslim, you're Sikh, you're Baha'i, you're Obeah. If your spiritual path is what gets you through the day, I have no issue with that. I just realized that I wasn't in the... Yeah. But when you attack anyone else's religion, that's when I have an issue. Now, this is because you're doing this targeting me, but you're targeting my community. I have spent more than a decade as an executive on the board of my little church to try to get word out about where we are, to do community outreach, to let people know that stereotypes have no place in modern society. Because even like when I first set foot in there over 20 years ago, there was, I had to hear secondhand from a friend that had gone, it's like, yeah, no, it's nothing like what the rumors of some of the more ignorant people in town say. And for your ass, an elected official, to start spreading around these fucking rumors again about animal sacrifices, fuck you. I am at an info booth at every city, like there's a summer festival, there's the Mum Festival, there's other events around the state where myself or other members of the board or other members of the clergy, but I'm usually almost always there, are at an info booth, open and honest with the public. This building has been standing since 1889. And I'm one of the people that make sure that it stays safe. In my time since I started coming there, it has been vandalized several times. Spray painted, windows broken into. The woods being littered with various things, teenagers partying behind the premises. All because of nonsense like this. And this was actually one of the reasons I was originally starting this show. Because this was sent to me quite a while back. This little fucking kid, if I ever see him, I can't be held responsible.
So Connecticut, today we here in Bristol, Connecticut at the Church of External Light. This church is known to be haunted, guys. This church was built in 1884 and is still standing as it was built. Like, everything's literally the same.
No, it's not. Number one, it was 1889. Number two, they didn't have vinyl siding or temperature controlled windows in 1889.
I feel like something just hit me.
And this fucking kid, he went and did this during the time when we were closed for winter break when no one was there.
So allegedly, a man was hit by lightning on the front of these steps. And people say, like, at nighttime, if you look into that lighthouse,
it's not a lighthouse, it's a bell tower, you fucking idiot.
They say that you can see, like, a man just standing there.
No, you can't.
At nighttime. You look where this church is, it's like in the middle of nowhere.
Notice how he only webs the camera like that, because if he were to move a little more, you would see a road and you would literally see a string of houses across the fucking street.
You don't see too many churches like this up north that looks like back in the 1800s. You know,
yeah, you do.
A lot of churches are more modern now or look like castles. This one looks exactly like the 1800s. It's
because it was originally a schoolhouse. It was a chapel. It wasn't a full-on church.
Crazy. Say a man was struck by lightning on the front steps. Kind of weird, because look, it's creepy. What is this supposed to be like?
It's called a stone labyrinth. Look it up. It's called Google, you stupid fucking Gen Seer.
There's nothing here. It looks like something used to be here and they took like rocks and covered it up. And
nothing was covered up.
Energy do feel a little weird, so we finna get out of here. They don't even have like a parking spot. Like, there's no parking.
He's standing on the parking lot, mind you. It's a gravel parking lot because it's attached to the road, but he's literally standing in the fucking parking lot.
Spots at all here, like, it's crazy. It's just,
you see that little board behind him? That's a railroad. Those are the markers for where the parking spaces are.
On the side of the road, bro. They said there's a man that appears in this little section at nighttime.
No.
That's crazy, right?
No.
Finna get out of here, man. The air felt a little crazy, man. I don't even want to get too close to that place, bro.
Yeah, mind you, see how he goes really quick? Because if you see a little spot above that back door, that's a security camera.
What's up?
But that's the kind of shit that I have to deal with on a regular basis, of trying to dispel stupid shit like little TikTok fucking kids trying to get clout by coming up and shooting videos, trying to, like, there's, if you search on YouTube, you'll find like these short videos of people like driving by, like, oh, we're gonna go see it, and then they drive by on a Sunday and realize there's a whole bunch of cars there. Why? Because it's a fucking church. Idiots. So yes, so I did file an appeal on that video too, which we'll see, because the fact of the matter is, yes, they did not use the correct name. However, all you need to do is go on Google and type in Bristol, Connecticut and Church of Eternal, and boom, it's the first thing that comes up. It doesn't matter that you change the last words. And anyone in the city knows where that little church is. We don't hide anything. It's open to the public, which is a question I've had to answer way too many fucking times of people that message the website when it literally says on the front of the website, open to the public. And what's even more hilarious is the fact that this fucking asshole, I know the church he goes to or claims to go to, because, as I've mentioned before, I participate in our city's interfaith coalition. One of the representatives is from his church. And you know something? They don't like him. Because he treats the city, he thinks he's a fucking mob boss. He thinks because he has an Italian last name that he can act like a mob boss. You give us fellow Italians a bad rep doing that shit, motherfucker. Keep lying. It's election year. And like I said before, when I started this a a few months ago. It's like, yeah, the elections aren't till November, but I got nothing but time. Every time you want to throw a rock, remember you're living in a glass house. Because I'm right here. And all I got to do is hit record. Unfucking believable. The Board of Education in this city needs all the help it can get. But this asshole is trying to claim that that's the reason that the city has a deficit when it's really because of him and because of the things he's done and how he sits there and he touts all of these things and says, look at me for this and look at me for that, when most of the accomplishments were set into motion by the administration before him. Meanwhile, anytime something doesn't go his way, he says, oh, well, that was the previous administration. It's sounds very familiar. Sounds like an orange goblin. Yeah. And by the way, people are on to you. People are on to your friends with their fake accounts. They're on to you being part of that AI nonsense because you keep recording your own lines for it like a fucking moron. And what's even funnier is that page went and changed their name to try to hide. It was called Unstable Bristol Democrats, and they changed it to Bristol, Connecticut Parody. Take your 23 likes and shove them up your ass. Or 29 likes that you're at now. Ooh. Meanwhile, any of you that have found this, that have found me on Reddit from the last post, which had over 16,000 views, how you doing? So the next issue that I want to talk about, let's lighten things up, but can't lighten them up. It's kind of rough. So what people asked if I was going to talk about, because for some reason they think I should have some input on this. I don't know why. I mean, I do, but I don't. And remember, like I said, things become intertwined at times. This is the next story we got to talk about. I don't know if you can see that well, so let me see if I can do a little bit of zoom. So, town orders Terryville Swingers Club to close. This comes from NBC Connecticut. So, it came to a lot of people's attention in the past couple of weeks, and I'm sure this, I think, if you live in the state of Connecticut, you know about this. I don't know how much attention it's gotten past that, but the city that borders us, that shares a representative, if you remember, I've mentioned him on the show too. That's our good old friend there, Drag Queen Hoxla. He's the representative for Bristol and Terryville. Apparently a swingers club opened up there back in November. And people just found out about it now in April. Which goes to show that maybe they were flying under the radar for a reason. Now, I'd like to preface this section by saying I am in a very happy monogamous relationship and have been for almost 15 years. I am not part of this community at all. I know people in this community and I know people in the adjacent communities. I have worked with people in this community, as in I have run adult establishments in the matter of before, video and bookstore. I have worked in the past, in my much younger days. I worked as a ancillary person doing the door and the bar and stuff at a BDSM club in Connecticut, which suffered almost a similar fate. So I'm familiar with some things. So I just wanted to touch upon this because I'm going to be completely impartial here. I'm going to talk about a little bit on both sides, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So yes, town orders Terryville Swingers Club to close. The town of Plymouth has ordered Swingers Club on the Terryville section of town to close, citing zoning regulations. Wicked Fun Club, opened in November on Main Street in Terryville, is located in a building along with a doctor's office that sits beside Riverside Baptist Church. The cease and desist order was sent to owner Steve Gagne last Friday and stated that the club falls under the adult use section of the town's zoning regulations. No approval for the club has been obtained from the Planning and Zoning Commission, the letter read, and the club violates specific distance requirements. As an adult use, the club cannot abut in whole or in part a residential zone and must also be 1,000 feet from a church. Gagne said they've done nothing wrong. He disagrees that the club should be considered adult use. We fall in line as a private members-only social club by the state of Connecticut. So we're no different than a chess club, book club, or any other private club, Gagne said. What happens behind closed doors is our business and nobody else's business because we're not harming anybody. We're not bringing attention to ourselves. We're just having a good time. The club has more than 200 members, but anywhere from 16 to 40 members attend in person at once, Gagne said. The real estate agents, lawyers, doctors, we've had politicians, we've had prosecutors that are still members of the club come out here and enjoy themselves. Now that feels like a little bit of a I have your skeletons at my grasp bit. What goes on in here, I really can't talk about other than the fact that people come and socialize. We are not a nightclub. We don't have a dance floor and we don't have a bar, he said. Gagne said this all started when his neighbors at the church made a complaint. The town getting involved with the cease and desist seemed like, hey, not in my backyard, because it's more of an opinion or their own morality being forced on us, Gagne said. Friday and Saturday nights between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. That's it. So we're not here when parishioners are here, and they're not here when we're here, so we don't get in anyone's way. I saw cars coming in and was wondering what this was. There's only one business I can think of that meets on weekends from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. with people formally dressed and going in, said Reverend David Townsley of Riverside Baptist Church. This type of business is supposed to be away from churches, schools, daycares, that sort of thing, and they're obviously not. Townsley said he just wants the club to follow zoning rules. The big thing, they need to follow the rules like everyone else, the pastor said. The zoning seems very clear to me. They do fall under the club, under the adult-oriented business, and that there's already guidelines in zoning for it, and they're in the wrong part of town for it to fit the zoning requirements. Gagne said he plans to appeal this decision and will go in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals later this month. Right now, we're in the appeal process. We are not closed down, and we are still legally able to operate through the appeals process, Gagne said. We don't know if we're going to win or not. It's up in the air. But if we do not win, then we're going to take it to court and let a judge decide. Townsley said he's reaching out to his state representatives to make a change in the laws. I'm going to be talking to our state officials to have the Grand Assembly try to pass another license requirement covering adult-oriented businesses so that there's some oversight, the pastor added. Because currently, the state has no oversight on this type of business, and I think there's common sense safeguards we need to put in place to make sure everything is safe. So, as I mentioned before, I'm never going to knock anyone for their religious path, and I'm not going to stereotype. However, more often than not, I've known quite a few Baptists to be troublemakers. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. I'm not saying all. I'm saying some that I have witnessed. Sort of like our mayor who got inaugurated in an anti-LGBTQ Baptist church, which was proven by me by reading news articles on this very show. So this is my thought process on it. It is a private club. They meet very specific, yada, yada times where no one else is around. The thing that almost draws attention is the fact that Terryville's a very sleepy little town, and, everything kind of closes down after 8 p.m. So any place operating from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. is kind of going to draw some attention. So from what I can gather, judging by some interviews besides that one that I listened to, was that the reverend there filed a false police report. Now this is hearsay. This is what the person in the interview said, so I can't tell you if it's true or not. But according to them, the reverend filed a police report saying that they witnessed people bringing a child into this establishment in the middle of the night so that they could talk about, child trafficking, whatever, yada, yada, all that stuff, like what's not mercurochrome. What is it? What's the name of that shit that they say that they do with the stuff with the QAnon dumb fucks? I don't even remember the name of it now. You know what I'm talking about. It's not ketamine. It's not mercurochrome. Those are actual things. It's this fake chemical that they say that they get. Whatever. So, as I said, I've known people in that community, and some of them are good friends of mine. They're just living their lives. They're not out to hurt anyone. It's a live and let live type of thing. As far as the whole adult yada yada, well, it's listed as a private club. They weren't advertising anywhere. It just so happens that someone seemed to come across it because they were doing some snooping. Because honestly, no one knew about this place. Then the only way I found out any more info was I actually found a subreddit about it because people were like, "Has anyone tried the new club in Terryville, Connecticut?" And I'm like, "What?" And it was when I actually typed it in the Google search. I wasn't like searching because, like I said, I'm not part of that community. So part of me, it should, the logical side says live and let live. It's a private club. Now, I am also harkened back to the days where when my father was still alive, my father was a board member at several ethnic social clubs, if you will. Most towns have them. If you have a Lions Club or an Elks Club, but some towns have they have like a German club or a Polish club or Sons of Italy or things like that. They're nationality clubs is what I'm trying to say. And I know that when my father was on the board of a couple of those, they would have a couple events a year that would be like extracurricular entertainment, if you will, because they would host because they would have a hall that they would rent out, but they would host what they would call smokers. If you're Gen X or older, if you might know, a smoker is kind of like, it's like a traveling strip club type of thing. It's you hire an agency that brings in girls to dance, and they do it, and it's in the confines of the members only club. It's not open to the public. You have to buy a ticket ahead of time from a member of the club, yada yada yada. And they used to do that in residential area. The club was in a residential area, several of the clubs, and a couple of the clubs were like, that I just know, either, my father wasn't on the board of all of them, obviously, just relatives or family friends, yada yada, that were on the boards of several of these clubs, and several of these clubs happened to be within the proximity of a school or a church or yada yada. A lot of those zoning laws are very antiquated, because the thing is, what's really messed up is the zoning law is in place for you can't have this establishment within 1,000 feet of a church. Yes. However, there is no zoning law that says that basically it works in the favor of one entity over another, because someone could come along and say you have, say devil's advocate, let's say you have, there really aren't that many adult video stores anymore with the internet. But say you have if you live in Connecticut, VIP, they're considered lingerie stores, but they're an adult store where you can buy adult oriented accessories. accessories, and they also sell smoking accessories and yada yada. Say that you've got one of those stores open and has been here, they opened like a year ago and has been here, and they followed all the guidelines. But there's an empty space next door or on the end of the corner. And a religious organization comes in and decides to rent that empty front to put up their thing. And if you're saying that's crazy, no, that's you see it a lot. In metropolitan areas, you see it more and more. Religious organizations, especially not especially, but I've seen ones that are like smaller congregations, like Spanish speaking congregations who don't have a larger place to go or whatever. Say they decide to rent that little spot on the end of it. Well, that means that the place that was already there is in violation. There's nothing that says the church can't be within 1,000 feet. It says this place can't be within 1,000 feet of the church. See, that's a major conflict of interest, and that's why laws like this are very antiquated. That's just how I see fit. Adult-oriented establishments, for the most part nowadays, are open late at night. I mean, granted, places like I just mentioned are open during the day, but they also have things in place where they don't put stuff in the windows. They usually don't have windows you can see through. Like we live in the year 2025. Things like this have been, precautions have been done. And people just need to stop being so prudish on the matter. And if you're a private club and you need to pay a membership fee and you have to be a member to enter and yada, 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 and just you can't walk in as some schlub off the street, like they're well within their means of we're a private club. That's where they're law abiding. So that part of me wants to say, live and let live. And like I said, I'm being middle of the road on this, and I'm looking at both sides. Here's the other side of the situation. Is when something comes out like this, and you are named as the owner of an establishment, you are open to public scrutiny. And this is one of the things that came across when, seeing the town groups complaining about it or whatever, is they mentioned something and they mentioned something and they kept mentioning something. And so I went to look into it. And this is what was found, is having to do with the owner and his wife. And let me just... Yeah. Now I know you can't see that, so I'm going to try to. So this comes from the United States Attorney's Office, District of Connecticut. Former Bristol attorney sentenced to 46 months in prison for stealing $169,000 from conserved persons. And this is from April of 2019. So 6 years, give or take a couple weeks. John H. Durham, United States Attorney for the District of Connecticut, announced that Jody Zilzgania, 43, of Bristol, was sentenced today by the U.S. District Judge Vanessa L. Bryant in Hartford to 46 months of imprisonment, followed by 3 years of supervised release for stealing more than $169,000 from individuals for whom she served as a court-appointed conservator. According to the court documents and statements made in court, Zilzgania, an attorney, was a court-appointed conservator to several individuals in Connecticut. A conservator is a person who appointed by the probate court to oversee the financial or personal affairs of an adult who is capable of managing his or her finances or unable to care for himself or herself. Beginning in approximately May of 2015, Zilzgania defrauded several conserved individuals by misappropriating their money and overbilling them. The money that Zilzgania misappropriated was intended for the conserved person's medical care, housing bills, personal expenses, and legitimate conservator fees. Zilzgania also misrepresented or failed to disclose material facts about her conservatorship activities to the Bristol Probate Court and others. Through this scheme, Zilzganya defrauded 6 victims in a total of $169,402 and change. She defrauded one elderly victim of approximately $136,000 and appropriated $113,000 of that money under the guise of an investment, when in fact it was a 10-year note that paid only a prime rate and was signed between her as the victim's conservator and Zilzganya's husband. The money was used to fund her husband's startup company, a Bristol-based internet radio station. The terms and details of this transaction were only disclosed after extended proceedings in the probate court, during which Zilzganya repeatedly lied, sometimes under oath, to the probate court. The investigation also revealed that Zilzganya arranged the sale of 2 victims' houses to her relative for less than the appraised value of the homes. The buyer then renovated the homes, sold them for a substantial profit, and paid Zilzganya and her husband kickbacks. On October 10, 2018, Zilzganya pleaded guilty to 1 count of mail fraud. Judge Bryant ordered Zilzganya, who was released on a $50,000 bond, to report to prison on July 8th. In September 2018, a Connecticut Superior Court judge suspended Zilzganya from the practice of law. This matter was investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Greenwich Police Department, with the assistance of the Connecticut Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel and the New Britain State's Attorney's Office. The case was prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorney David Wang. So that's not a good look. Now, there was a lot of hearsay aside from that, but that's why I pulled up that, because it was from the district website. It wasn't from any news site, left-leaning, right-leaning, yada, yada. It came from factual, what was written in the court records. I did find articles afterwards that she was released early during the pandemic because of, lower level crimes, yada, yada, and basically put under a suspended sentence for the rest, yada, yada, yada. Still can't practice law. So that's not a good look. When you're trying to do things and you're trying to say we're following under all matters of the law, well, then stuff like that comes back to haunt you. And granted, there's also the husband has come to her aid and says, people change, yada, yada. It's like, this was only a few years ago and you're adults. You're my age. This isn't like you did something stupid in your 20s and you're 45 now. This is you did something stupid in your 40s and you're still in your 40s. And not only that, and like I said, by all means, people should be able to do things how they wish, because it didn't seem like they were breaking any laws. And so that I'm not saying that they are now. What I'm saying is they don't have a stellar reputation. And there's a second part to not having a stellar reputation. Some of you may know where I'm getting here, because some of you have been paying attention. What was his name? Sherman? Yes, Dr. Peabody? Sherman, it's time we jump back into the Wayback Machine, because we need to talk about something. You may realize that name sounds quite familiar. Let's jump in the Wayback Machine all the way back to 4 weeks ago. Facing child endangerment charges for allegedly bathing naked with a 5-year-old boy, the longtime treasurer at the Connecticut Republicans resigned from his elected post and paid position with the party on Monday. Gary Shafrick, 52, relinquished his post after a warrant containing the lurid details of his March 6th arrest in his home city of Bristol was unsealed. Shafrick's resignation was announced in an email to party leaders Monday afternoon by state GOP chairman J.R. Romano. This is an ongoing court case. I just don't feel it's appropriate for me to comment on, Romano told Hearst Connecticut Media. Shafrick's Bristol-based lawyer, Jody Zilzganya, did not respond to a request for comment on Monday, but told the Bristol Press that her client plans to plead not guilty. Shafik remains free on a $25,000 bond until his next court appearance, which is scheduled for April 4th. That's right, folks. Like I said, things kind of weave back together next to each other because the PDF file, who is still close friends with Mayor Fuckbuckle and who still babysits the children of Judy Bristol D'Amato, was represented in his PDF file case by Jody Zelzgania. This is why I'm looking at both sides. Because while people should have a right to do what they do if they're not harming anyone, the court of public opinion is very hard to keep impartial when you already have a strike against you for committing fraud, being disbarred, and stealing money from elderly people. But you have an alleged police report filed by a reverend who is citing child yada yada. Mercurochrome. That's what it was. No, it's not mercurochrome. I don't fucking know. That's the same thing. Adrenochrome. That's what it is. That's the shit. I'm an idiot. You have someone filing a police report supposedly saying that, and on the other end, you have the wife who was openly the attorney of a PDF file who is still very much ensconced in local politics. You see why that doesn't look good. So, however this works out or doesn't work out, I don't have a horse in this race. I'm just giving you both sides of the story. Quite literally. Quite literally, I'm just giving you both sides of the story. It doesn't look like it's good for anybody. I don't see anybody in this coming out scot-free. Nobody's coming out clean as a whistle. Everybody got skeletons. So we'll see what happens. But I got nothing. I got nothing. You know, it's not like I would have been here like championing and being like, let's go defend. I'm like, this is your battle. It's not mine, but I see where you're coming from. But how am I supposed to get behind that? Like, I'm sorry. And this is why I'm an independent. Because I got to look at both sides of this shit. But I bet you that's a connection that, I mean, well, those of you who have been viewing understand and know, and they're like, oh, yeah, shit. Other people may not have realized it. So if it's your first time viewing Catharsis, there you go. All you Terryville folks that want a little bit more of a nugget, there you go. I'm not on anyone's side in this. I'm just presenting what I see. So that's that part. So now, one more thing before I'm done for the day. That's a new segment. You may have seen in the description that I was going to introduce a new segment today. So, yeah. And this comes from part of one of the reasons I wanted to start Catharsis, along with the clip I played earlier. But I just, this is what Catharsis was originally made to be, event. So let me introduce you to our newest segment. Now I'm lying on the cold, hard ground. Bitch better have my money. Listen here, bitch. So, I will preface this by saying This segment will always involve someone I'm talking about. It does not denominate a gender. I will say, listen here, bitch, to anyone, no matter what they may be. So don't try to come after me saying I'm a misogynist, because if it happens to be a guy saying stuff, I'm going to say, listen here, bitch. So yeah, listen here, bitch. I'm an ornery Gen Xer, as some of you may already know. I tout that on Wildcard Cinema. I weep for our future. I am not a fan of a lot of Gen Zers. I'm not a fan of a lot of millennials either. And like quite literally, like there's, this is something that it's weird, because I like, sometimes I want to talk about this on Brass Tacks, but sometimes I need to talk about it here. But I just need to talk about it here because listen here, bitch. So some of you may have found this on Reddit. May have found me on Reddit, I should say. Some of you may be on Reddit. Some of you may not be. Some of you need to realize that Reddit is not always the greatest place. So yeah, this came across, when I was reading things in a subreddit for my state. And I have to talk about it because I can't. I fucking can't. I can't. So, no, hold on. Let me make sure I'm on. Yeah, no, not that one. You. Haha. So I came across this yesterday in my time. May not be so much that time as when you see this video. Why can't I see that? Hold on. There we go. Sorry, wrong thing. So yeah. How do you guys make friends as an adult? Not a rant, just a genuine question. 25 female. I moved here 2 months ago for work. I literally have 0 friends. I tried Bumble BFF and talking to my colleagues. No luck. I understand we all get busy, but I just want a bit of socializing and small circle. How do you all make friends as an adult? Really? 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 But it gets better. Someone gives an actual suggestion. Find a brewery on a Thursday night and hang out for trivia night. My wife and I built a whole new friend group like this. And if that ends up becoming problematic, I made a ton of friends at AA, which is kind of a funny little thing. Oh my God, where are these things happening? How to find out these meetups? Is there an app? Ah! And then this very wise person on the bottom, who just might happen to be the person you're seeing on the left side of your screen, said, yeah, it's called Google. It went on from there. But listen here, bitch. Now, I used to believe wholeheartedly when I was younger, because a lot of things happened to me early in life. I had to deal with a lot of things earlier in life than some people do. As I've mentioned before on this show, my sister was a drug addict. I ended up raising her first 2 kids for the most part while I was still in high school. So I wasn't a teenage parent, but I might as well have been. My father got sick. I had to take over the family business. I had to work, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, to try to keep everything afloat while my father was going through dialysis and chemo and yada, yada. And it wasn't a good thing. So I had to grow up fast. And during my late 20s, I used to complain and say, I used to sit back and say, why are people so fucking immature? And really, at that time, I was looking at it from my viewpoint of I had to grow up fast. So there's a lot of stuff that I had to do while everyone else was able to go to college and have a social life. That never happened for me. So I had to be an adult. And some people just, didn't have to deal with that until after college. So they were in their mid 20s, yada, yada, before life started for them. And I grew to understand that, especially with people who I actually grew up with, and seeing that, I'm like, all right, you went down a different path than me because you did this, that, and the other thing, and I did this, that, and this thing. So I kind of understood that. But then as I got older and I became more and more jaded, I started looking at things about the younger people and the younger people and the younger people. And yes, I have friends who have children who are teenagers or in their earliest 20s now, who are very well rounded. They were raised right. They're great people. They're going to be successful in life, and I commend them. They are the exception to the rule in this matter, because someone literally tells you here and you go, is there an app? I don't know what to do unless there's a button I can press. Where's my phone? I need my phone. My phone is my lifeline. Where's my phone? I can't find my phone. I mean, granted, when I can't find my phone, I'm like, shit, where's my phone? Just because that shit's expensive and I don't want to have to replace it. Where's my phone? Oh my God, I need my phone. I need to press all the buttons. I need an app to tell me. And this goes along with some things that I've seen where some viral stuff not viral, but some stuff that's going around now about how there's people teaching Gen Zers how to make phone calls. Because they have anxiety about talking to people. And I'm like, listen, I understand social anxiety. I understand PTSD. I understand agoraphobia. Not totally personal, but I know people and, deal with these things as well. And I understand those things. However, when you're like, oh, I can't talk to a normal person and it's like, no, it's because you grew up staring at a screen instead of talking to people. And that's partially society's fault, partially the parents' fault, partially a lot of faults. It doesn't fall on any one particular person. However, it's like people say, it's like kids don't go out and touch grass anymore. I didn't go out and touch grass. I wasn't a popular kid. People talk about bullying now. I got fucking bullied. When I was in elementary school, I used to get the shit kicked out of me by 5 dudes every day at 3:00. And my elementary school was on a hill, and I used to get the shit kicked out of me, and I used to get rolled down the hill in oncoming traffic. So I know about bullying. Kind of what made me so bitter later on, and kind of made me start picking up weights when I was a teenager. Started learning how to fucking fight. Because, well, I got tired of getting fucking jumped. But now everything has gone the way of, they said a mean thing about me. They're bullying me. They're a dick. But if they only said a mean thing about you once, they're not bullying you. They're just a dick. And if you are so cut off from human interaction from a young age when there should be no reason, I'm pretty sure kids still have recess in elementary school and still have lunch period together and things of that nature. I'm pretty sure, and I'm not saying any of these is a catch-all of a cure. Parents, have kids do sports, stuff like that. I mean, even if say, you're stuck at home or whatever, I know people that play D&D or RPGs via Zoom because they can't all get together in the same place, but you're still talking to people. And then I see shit like this where, please give me an app. Please just make the app do it. Let me go, hey, Gemini. Yeah. Oh, God. No, don't. kids going through high school being illiterate because they just have the tablet read to them what's on the page. Second part. And someone pointed this out, and I wholeheartedly agreed with them. And they said, why don't you just go to a dating subreddit? Because that's what you're doing right now. You're like, I'm 25 female. You're looking for dating. And they're like, no. Why are you assuming that I'm looking for dating? Because you said you tried Bumble. And then someone else, listen here, bitch. Someone else tried to come at me saying that, there's a specific Bumble app that's just for friends. And I'm like, yeah. And I've been aware of people who have used that as no, I'm just talking to people, as a method of cheating on their significant other. It's a dating app. It's still all the Bumble and OK Cupid and Match. They're all the same company now. It's all dating apps, fucker. Like, I thought it was funny, like, back in the day, because, like, me and the wife, like I said, we've been together almost 15 years, and we met through an online dating service, yes. But back then, we were the exception to the rule. Because back then, literally, before I dated her, there were like 3 or 4 girls that I met through shit like Plenty of Fish that were just psycho and did not work out. So, but I mean, just to sit there, I can't. I fucking can't. Is there an app for this? And then what's funny is she actually responded. It was a female, as I said, actually responded, and she was just like, she's just like, you can't trust Google. I'm like, but you can trust strangers on Reddit. Jesus fuck. And I'm sorry, but going back to the maturity and yada yada, but I have come to realize that you're saying you're 25, you're an adult. No, you're not. More often than not, statistically showing, with the maturity of people in the further down generations right now, at the age of 25, you are still a child. I'm sorry. If you are out there saying, listen, I've got a job and I've got an apartment, I pay my own bills, yada, yada. I don't have any kids. I don't have this, yada, yada. I've done this all on my own. I am not talking about you. So don't feel threatened, because I'm not talking about you. You've obviously done things right. You are living your best life. That's completely fine. I'm talking about the people going, I need an app for everything. I'm talking about the people that need to ask Gemini or Siri or whatever for every little fucking thing under the sun. I'm talking about people that don't know how to take out a library card. I'm talking about people that don't know how to make a doctor's appointment on a phone call. I'm talking about those type of people, because there's so fucking many of them now. And like I said, there are people who genuinely have PTSD, agoraphobia, social anxiety. I'm not talking about these people. I'm talking about everyone who is just lazy, who says they have one of these things. I can tell you, and I don't get how they get away with it, where I'm in a public setting of a large group of people, and I won't say where, but I will be there in a large group of people where people are talking and one person standing there going, oh, I know, I have such social anxiety and I don't do well around other people, blah, blah, blah. As loud as the motherfucker around 25 other people. Guess what? No, you fucking don't. Sorry. Nope. Not buying it. Grow the fuck up. Learn how to be a human being. Like I said, there's an app for that. It's called Google. You literally have, and this is something I remember saying this. I was in a locker room once at a wrestling show. I was talking to Dan Barry and Ken Scampy. We were talking about things, and I turned to Ken Scampy because we were talking about things, and I said, and this was 2011. So this is, 14 years ago, and I said hyperconnectivity is ruining this society. And I think it had to do with, at the time, it was when talk to text first came out. Because it was when talk to text was first getting big, or, getting offered, I should say. And people started doing talk to text on their phone. I'm like, you know what you could do instead of, if you don't want to type, you know what you can do? There's an earpiece and a microphone. You can, if you're going to talk, to put forward what you are trying to purvey, you can talk to the person. And I understand some people are like, well, I don't have time. Like, I'm not saying, like, I'm saying, like, if you have a conversation that you need to have, some of us adults will say, hey, text, hey, when you get a chance, give me a call later. I need to talk to you. Nothing, nothing major, but I need to have a conversation with you about something. That's all it is. Because I do know some people who are like, if my phone rings, I think it's really bad news. And that's when you let people know, hey, could you call me? Or, hey, I'm going to call you later. Don't worry, it's not bad news. And then later on, you can purvey the conversation that you are trying to have. It's not that fucking hard. I don't fucking get it. Of course, I also did some deep digging on that individual because, it's kind of funny how, even when you delete posts, they still show up on Reddit. And same person was like, I paid my landlord all this money, but I need proof that I live there, and I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, you don't know what you're fucking doing, all right? You know what would have helped you with that? If you had Googled tenant law before you didn't sign a lease and handed money over. Literally, we have a generation that loves to preach fuck around and find out. But they do a lot of fucking around and never want to find out. Guess what? The rent comes due. Now, if you don't mind, I think that's all I've got in me for today. And I did still go over an hour. I apologize. I mean, maybe you're entertained. I hope so. But I actually have to get ready because I'm actually going to go meet up with some friends in person to have conversations and libations at someone's house. I'm not going to a bar. So it's very possible that these things can be done. I can't. I fucking can't. I can't. Oh my God. There's an app for that. Used to be an advertising line that went way too fucking far in this world. Oh God. But yeah, I've ranted enough for everyone's likes. I need to get this posted and I need to get out the door so I can go socialize with some people. So thank you for joining me in my catharsis. You can find my socials down below there. You can find me on X or Twitter, Blue Sky. That's the official Facebook page in the middle. If you are on Spotify, this is you can also find this on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you can find this on Spotify, yada yada. If you're on Reddit, please make sure. Yes, my boy here knows that it's time for him to do the job. So is he? Come on. That's right, Titus. Tell everyone at home. Come on, come to the microphone. Tell them like and subscribe. Good boy. How are you gonna say no to that face? So yeah, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. If you think I'm a dick, let me know. If you think I'm right, let me know. If you comment, the algorithm actually pushes this shit out. Because I ain't getting paid for this shit. I am doing this of my own volition. That's all I got. Thank you for joining my Catharsis. And I will see you. I'm recording Wildcard Cinema on Monday night. Yeah. Stay tuned to the channel for all updates. Later.